Good morning. Evelyn McKnight, One Arm University. Today we're going to talk about kitchen tools, and we've already had a segment about kitchen tools, but there's a few more we'd like to talk to you about. First, I want to talk about, this isn't exactly a kitchen tool, but it's kitchen technique. And I find that in time, as I'm working at the kitchen counter, chopping vegetables, buttering bread, whatever food preparation that I have, I'm really thinking about working with what I'm doing right here. And so I don't think so much about my posture. So in time, I'm kind of slumped, especially slumped such that the arm that's missing, all that weight that's missing, rides up. I'm not in balance. So what I've learned recently is to put a yoga block between my knees, and I'll show you. That really keeps my posture in alignment. If I hold that between my knees as I'm working at the counter, I can stay in pretty good posture, balanced. Whereas without that, in time, I will slump. So something to keep in mind if you're missing a good part of your body and that throws you out of balance, out of alignment, what that gives me is a backache at night. So finding a way to stay in good alignment, good posture, can really prevent some of those backaches. I want to talk about knives and cutting boards. I've been grateful that I've been gifted several cutting boards. One is this wooden cutting board. It has some plastic suction feet. They're not hard gripped, but they do keep the board from slipping around. It has an L here, so this is a really nice place to put your bread. And then you can scoop up your peanut butter. It holds it in place nice. You can make a nice sandwich. I really appreciate that. Then there's these spikes where you can spike an apple, an onion, and then work on cutting that. I've found several knives. There are these L-shaped knives, and that works pretty good for one arm people, depending upon what you're cutting. Cutting smaller things works better than larger things, but there's a number of different sizes and finishes. What I like the best for most of my cutting, not everything, but most of it, is this rocker knife. That just really seems to be a nice kind of angle. A nice way that the food stays in place and I can do my cutting pretty easily. That's my favorite knife for most things. Now some things like cutting meat and that sort of thing, that doesn't work as well. Let me show you what I use for some kinds of meat. This is a very heavy duty poultry shears, and it works well for a number of different kinds of cutting tasks. If I've got a browned chicken breast, I can lay it on my cutting board and then cut it into pieces. The scissors is sharp enough that you can cut the chicken breast into pieces that way. It's good for cutting, like you might need to cut out some skin off your chicken breast, or some of that thick cartilage might be in your way. A good heavy duty sharp pair of poultry shears will be your friend in a lot of different tasks. Another kind of cutting board is the Swedish cutting board. It has several nice features. It has this spikes that's removable, so you can take this out, but you can spear your apple, pear, onion, zucchini, anything here, and then it stays in place. It'll be held in place for you to cut. And then when you're done, you can remove this. You can wash this very thoroughly, but you also have, you know, a collection. You can scrape those onion pieces. You know, perhaps you have this situated such that you have a small plate right under here. You can scrape that right onto your plate. And the rocker knife works well for that. I've also found that a pastry scraper works well for lots of things. If there's crumbs on my counter, I even use that to scrape right into the sink. It's just a little handier and easier on my shoulder than a washcloth. Okay, so we've talked about the spikes. There's also a vise in this Swedish cutting board. So you can place your food part in here, and then you hold it down with this vise. The pegs can be moved to a number of different places to hold your food part in place well, no matter what size, what it is, even a loaf of bread. And it doesn't have to be, you know, some piece of food. It can be a jar that you want to hold in place while you get a can opener, or to use a jar gripper and open it up. It can be lots of different things. Something that you want held in place so that you can cut it. There's just lots of uses for this cutting board. Now, it is held in place by these suction feet, and one minor disadvantage, if I can call it a disadvantage, is it really sticks down well. It's very sticky, so sometimes it's hard to pull up, and sometimes I just go ahead and put a knife or something underneath each foot, because by the time I get two up, the other two have stuck down. And I have, you know, pulled and worked so hard that I've actually pulled those feet off. So be careful, use a little care when you're pulling those, when you're removing this cutting board from the table. I encourage you to invest in a set of flat bottom measuring spoons. They have their bottom is flat, so they sit down flat on the counter as opposed to those rounded spoons. So you can choose the measuring spoon that you want and then pour your spices, salt, whatever it is that you need in here, and level it off, and you'll get a pretty accurate measurement. Here is a baggie holder. So it has a suction grip on the bottom. Place one side of your plastic bag in this holder. It holds it in place. And the other side. There you go. And then it holds the bag in place so you can fill it with anything, liquids, you know, leftovers, and then you can close it up and you're ready to go for the freezer or the refrigerator. This is a panhandle holder, again, suction feet. Put it right next to your stove top. Press the suction feet down put your panhandle into it, and it stays in place pretty well. It's not a perfect system, but it works pretty well. I want to show you how I open jars. I have an under counter jar opener. It is attached, nailed into the bottom of the counter. I can place my jar in it, it grips it, it holds it, and then I can open it up with one hand. Last thing, you need to be hydrated. This isn't exactly a kitchen tool, but I wanted to show it to you. It is a mug that I really like. It's tall, it's insulated, it's stainless steel, so it cleans easily. I really like having the handle. I really like having a straw. It can be pretty spill proof, so find yourself a good jug, mug that you like, that you can keep on hand to stay hydrated. Thanks so much for joining me today. I look forward to hearing your comments. What works well for you in the kitchen? What tools do you have? And leave some comments and share with others. We'll see you in the kitchen.